Good evening and welcome to SVGTV's news for Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. The government has recorded a favorable revenue performance for the January to April period of 2022. Prime Minister Dr. Alf Gensovs provided an update on the government's fiscal performance on NBC Radio's face-to-face program today. He says revenue collected for the first 4 months has exceeded that of the same period in 2021, adding that there were increases on the taxes of goods and services, as well as taxes on international trade.
The current revenue in the first 4 months of this year went up by 1.7%. But what is fortunate is that the taxes on goods and services have gone up by 20%. The local value-added tax went up by nearly 20%, 19.7%. And taxes on goods and services would include value-added tax, excise duty on imports, excise duty on domestic transactions, insurance premium tax, motor vehicle license, telecom broadcasting license, yachting license, merchant shipping international fees, and interest levy from the banks now. So the broad base of the revenue is doing better this year up to the end of April than last year. But what we don't have this year is the big windfall from alien landholding license and transfer taxes on property.
On the expenditure side, Prime Minister Gensovs says transfers to state-run agencies, including BRAGSA, the Community College, and Social Assistance Benefits Program, have increased, resulting in a manageable current account deficit of 6.7 million EC dollars.
Even though that went up by 1.7%, total expenditure went up by nearly 4%, and importantly, recurrent expenditure went up by 8.4%. We end up with a small deficit on the current account of $6.7 million. It's manageable, and an overall deficit both on the capital and the current account of $15 million. So it's but those are manageable numbers.
The opposition has questioned the government's decision to remove the value-added tax VAT payments on electricity consumption for a number of state-run agencies. The amendments to the Value-Added Tax Bill 2022 were tabled during a sitting of Parliament on Tuesday. The amendments included the provision for the consumption of electricity by the National Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, the Postal Corporation, and the Argyle International Airport to be zero-rated. Opposition Member of Parliament for East Kingstown, Dwight Fitzbramble, says he believed a reduction on VAT across the board should be considered for all Vincentians and not just 3 government-run entities outlined in the amendments.
Take into consideration the impact of the VAT on ordinary Vincentians, and I think the fact that the mentioned government departments and statutory bodies in this bill is testimony to the importance of the need for such consideration. That this is time for us to seriously consider a reduction in the VAT. I mean, how does it look? You're giving zero-rated in electricity to 705 Radio, the post office, the Argyle International Airport, and you have poor, struggling people out here paying VAT every day, and you're not willing to consider a reduction in the rate?
Quoting from the 2016 to 2018 report of performance audit of value-added tax, Bramble raised an issue with the government's VAT collection system, accusing the government of having a high VAT arrears bill.
It highlights some of the pertinent reasons why there's such a weak administration of the VAT. And I'll highlight a couple from the report. There is insufficient staff, and I'm quoting from the report again, Madam Speaker, page 4, under human resource management. There is insufficient staff for the effective administration of VAT. As a consequence, a large percentage of planned audits were not conducted on VAT taxable persons by the Audit and Investigation Unit. Goes on to say, the absence of training in the application of the VAT legislation has impacted on the accounts receivables. It also talks about the e-filing system, which experienced technical problems that frequently impeded the filing of returns. So it is clear, Madam Speaker, that much help is needed in order for us to improve the administration of the VAT.
Minister of Finance Camila Gonzalez dismissed the notion that the government had not collected over 50% of the VAT assessed in 2016.
Not 1 year we collect half and half is out there a begging. It is not true. But at no point, Madam Speaker, have we ever failed to collect 50% of our VAT. So for that to be the foundation of the argument for lower VAT, the foundation is faulty.
Minister Gonzalez also says Vincentians will be getting relief on their electricity bills as a result of the debt relief agreements negotiated with Venezuela recently, which includes a 35% reduction in fuel purchased by VINLEC.
If VINLEC had paid 35% less for fuel during the past month, the fuel surcharge rate would have been 36 cents. So not 56 cents, 36 cents. In short, a domestic customer who paid $1.06 per kilowatt hour would have 86 cents per kilowatt hour. This represents a 19% reduction in the total unit cost to the consumer. 19% off is what this means if the fuel prices stay where they are. And VINLEC is paying astronomical sums right now for a barrel of diesel, $168 to $182 US.
The number of persons with disabilities on the Youth Empowerment Services Program is expected to increase. This is according to Minister of Social Development, Youth and Gender Affairs, Orlando Brewster, who was speaking on API's morning SVG television program. Brewster noted that the government is now working on Disability Act, which would allow for equal opportunities for the disabled in SVG.
We have taken on the disabled. We've been doing it for years, but I've asked my Youth Affairs Division to up the number of persons with disability being included on our YES program, because we're working now on a Disability Act, and this is a big thing, Candyman, where we are trying to make sure that the disabled folks here in St. Vincent is given an equal share, equal opportunity to the employment, equal opportunity to education, equal opportunity to skills training. They might not be 100% physically, but there are still skills that they can perform in order to be part of the citizens here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So that is a big item that we have coming up, and you will hear more from the ministry about that, about the Disability Act, and we're working with the private sector, we're working with education, we're working with the different entities that work with persons who are disabled, to make sure that our disabled, they're included and not excluded in the whole aspect of progress here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Further boasting about the YES program, Minister Brewster said it is a great opportunity for young people, and that recently over 500 young persons were sent out on attachments at various entities.
Sent out our YES program persons, I think, last month, the beginning of April, and some went into the end of April, so they would start from May. And that is about 500 persons, young persons across St. Vincent, getting an opportunity on the Youth Empowerment Service Program, where they could enhance their skills going forward.
Vincentians will benefit over the next 6 months from a $1 million Love Box initiative. The Love Box project was first conceptualized during the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Boxes were distributed throughout the country to assist in addressing the issue of food security. During the volcanic eruptions of 2021, a similar project was established to distribute care packages to shelters and residents affected by the volcano. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has caused significant increases in the cost of food globally. Minister of Agriculture Siboto Caesar thanked the Minister of Finance Camila Gonçalves during last sitting of Parliament for the policy to receive the Love Box initiative in light of the rising food prices globally. That should be to revive, sorry. The government has commenced Global Medics for their continued work in providing food packages to families as part of the volcano recovery efforts. The Love Box project is also expected to provide an internal market for farmers. The government is currently promoting the establishment of a national agriculture marketing platform before the end of 2022. And with St. Vincent and the Grenadines taking huge steps in reducing the food import bill, the government has been encouraging persons to get more involved in agriculture and also for them to eat more of what they grow. Tishan Edwards, a 27-year-old young man from Chateaubelair, is one who is heeding the call to get involved in farming. In an interview with SVG-TV yesterday at the ECGC's training seminar, Edwards said although he grew up dabbling in farming, he never pursued it fully until he decided to end his career as a police officer.
I grew up in a farming background. My parents were farmers since I know myself. And then I went off to school and secondary school and then college, and then after college I became a police officer, but I realized this is not my place. Yes, I was making money. Yes, I had a salary. It's a very good job, looked upon job, but then at my peace it wasn't there. So I decided to move back to my farm and I started to do some serious investment in my farm, and I would have got really good results because I practice even things that I've learned in college in my associate degree in agriculture. And now today I have already been able to build a farmhouse, a beautiful farmhouse, and now we have established a farm ranch kind of thing. So it's farming plus a ranch where we do horseback riding and horse school to both local and regional and international people who will come and want this kind of service.
According to Edwards, he has faced some challenges over the years as a farmer, especially the vexing issue of predial larceny, which forced him to come up with creative ways to keep his animals and business alive.
Farming, I purchase some animals, and when I get the few gone, I say, nah, this can't happen. Between that time and now, I would have raised some monies, and I decided, I said, parents, I'm gonna build a house on the farm. I sacrificed the comfort of my parents' home to become independent just to secure this business. As a matter of fact, when this Soufriere erupted, I walked, everybody run left the animal, I walked with them too as far as Mespo. I walked from Chateaubelair to Baga with about 70-something sheep and my 3 horses. You understand? So it all depends. You have to look at it because nobody leave their supermarket unattended, and you know you have burglar bars. Yeah. If it takes like you have a guardsman, security, we should treat our farm the same because it's food. It's securing the food for the future.
Edwards said he was happy he made the decision to participate in the seminar and shared with us some of the valuable pointers he would have learned.
In your farm as a business so that you will be able to even access loans and other opportunities to advance your farm. So I learned pretty much a lot, but these things would have stand out to me, and even the INS, you know, to make sure even if you're a farmer, you need to secure your retirement plan, you know, as a farmer. Because I see a lot of farmers today who are already aged and they cannot have a source of income because they can't farm anymore. They didn't prepare when they had the strength and the youth in them. And now they are kind of suffering because they don't have a daily income to depend on, and they can't farm anymore because this reason of strength is not there anymore.
The young entrepreneurs said that because we are still in an era where there is a great stigma around farming, there are persons who look down upon the profession. He used the opportunity, however, to encourage other young persons to get on board regardless of the size of land accessible to them.
Those persons, because farming is just as productive as any other business. It's just what you invest and where you want to go. You understand? I will say, if I have to do life over again, I will start farming at a younger age. I will just specify myself into academic areas concerning farming, and I will just go right ahead for it because it has made me a man today, and I have a lot of improvements to make, you know. But with what I would have already invested in farming consistently, I would have been very much satisfied with my returns. And I just want to say, farming is not just dirty work. You can become a manager of your farm and have employees working with you. It's just the position you're looking at farming from. You understand? So I will encourage young people to get into farming once you have access to lands, and you don't even have to have big space. Depends on what type of farming you want to do. You just have to utilize whatever resources you have and make it work. And farming is one of the most rewarding jobs, and it just requires discipline, consistency, and trust me, you're gonna get an investment and you're gonna get your return.
The Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment CPEA, which is a regional assessment module that is offered by the Caribbean Examination Council CXC, will be held here on Thursday, May 12th and Friday, May 15th, 2022. 1,714 grade 6 students comprising of 864 males and 850 females will sit the external component of the CPEA here in SVG. The external component of the assessment comprises 4 multiple-choice papers in 4 areas: mathematics, social studies, language arts, and science. Each paper consists of 50 items with a duration of 1 hour and 15 minutes per paper. The multiple choice, which is the external component of the assessment, accounts for 60% of the final score, and the school-based assessment, SBA, the internal component, accounts for 40% of the final score. On day 1, Thursday, 12th of May 2022, mathematics and social studies will be administered at and on day 2, Friday 13th of May, language arts and science will be administered. The results are expected to be released by CXC in June, allowing sufficient time for the Ministry of Education to conduct its secondary placement exercise for the new academic 2022 to 2023 year. Students in SVG have come up against a string of unfortunate events within recent times, but the biggest challenge came from the COVID-19 pandemic and the eruption of La Soufrière volcano, which kept them away from the classrooms for a face-to-face learning. President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, said that despite all the odds, he is confident in the students' abilities and encourages them to remain calm and focused as they sit the exams.
On behalf of the National Executive and the staff and the general membership of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, we want to impress on our students tomorrow to be focused as they sit the CPEA examination, Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment. We know that it was a difficult time, especially this group of students who will be writing exams tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. We want to encourage you to do your best, read the questions very carefully, and make your choices.
Robinson also encouraged parents to remain calm and to be strong for their children, and shared some tips for the students to get them through the 2 days of exams.
Who would have operated under difficult circumstances to
prepare the students for this very important exam, I also wish to ask the parents to be relaxed, because sometimes the parents are more anxious than the students. Make sure that you get enough rest and just be normal. Do not overeat. Do not stay up too late in the night. Make sure you relax yourself and be focused. Get to the examination room on time so that you'll be able to perform your duty. If there are things that you need any questions about, there would be invigilators there who would be able to assist you. Okay, so all the best for this 2020-22 CPE exam, and I want to wish all the students every success in their sitting of the examination. I know our teachers continue to be resilient, and our people's intentions would have gone to many challenges in the past, and they would have risen to the occasion. So I hope that everything work out good.
As SVG celebrates Child Month 2022, Minister of Education and National Reconciliation Curtis King, in an address to mark the occasion, spoke of the resilience of the nation's children who have been through a difficult 2 years. King said with all that has happened within the past 2 years, some of the children and even adults lost their smiles as a result of being burdened with anxiety or fear and other underlying issues. He said that in line with this year's Child's Month theme, Smile, the ministry sets out to reassure the children of SVG how valuable
Child Month. It is our intention to boost the esteem and resilience of our children across the nation, while we continue to reaffirm and reassure them of their value to society. Mother Teresa said, "We shall never know all the good that a smile can do." The COVID-19 pandemic resulted in the loss of face-to-face learning for many months. This caused many of our children, especially the younger ones, to be somewhat confused and sad. They miss being at school and with their teachers. We at the Ministry of Education reiterate that children are the greatest assets. Thus, in our efforts to navigate our children out of this difficult period, we continue to demonstrate that children are indeed special, marvelous, important, loved, and enough.
King said, as we thrive to remain normalcy, the ministry has partnered with multiple organizations to identify and address the psychological needs of the children across SVG.
With help from our partners in UNICEF and the OECS Secretariat, we employed various strategies to address the educational and psychological needs of our children during this period of crisis. One such strategy is the Continuity of Learning program. We were able to obtain tangible resources to put into programs designed to stimulate our early childhood development level. At the primary and secondary levels, resources were put into literacy, numeracy, science, and music programs to cater for the needs of all learners, especially those who were, and in some cases, are still struggling, as well as those children with special needs.